All right. So we already spoke about how you can manipulate and declare single value attributes like the trainer of a member objects. And we also did some very detailed tracing on both the paper and also debugger on Eclipse and for the JUnit test that we develop. That's something you should really review before you continue with the current video. What I would like to do now is to have a very natural but a little bit more advanced continuation of single value attributes. So what we will talk about now is multi-value attributes using the primitive array that we learned about, right? So remember previously we learned about arrays and loops in the context of procedural programming in Java, but now we can easily adapt all the foundation we have learned in the context of OOP. So that's something I will show you in detail. However, for this week, we will not be able to cover most of the details for the array type attributes. I definitely need much more time to really cover that properly. However, what I would like to do is I want to spend a little bit of time to really get yourself prepared, at least to declare some class, declare some attributes, and then explain to you some very basic stuff for visualization. And then I'm going to assign some written notes for you to read. So by reading this, hopefully by the start of next week, if you can finish the written notes, that'll be awesome. So you will be ready to really learn about the final bits for the advanced stuff for OOP. All right, so what I would like to do now is to really set it up for the array type attributes. Let's now first of all create a new class. So rather than having a trainer class, let's say in addition to having a trainer class, I would like to have one more class called facility. Okay, let's now create a new class over here. And the class should be called facility. Okay, typically, the nouns for the class name should be singular because you might create multiple instances of the same template like a facility. So you shouldn't really call it facilities. So that's just like a category error. Okay, and then you will say finish. Okay, without the main method. And the facility over here is more like a template for example, it could be the facility of gym. It can be for maybe tennis. It can be for maybe a spinning class or maybe for group power class, right? It's the general facility that we talk about in the context of a fitness club. Okay, and let's now have very simple three attributes for the facility. Okay, just to for illustration, you can definitely feel free to extend the facility class with more attributes if you wish. Let's say we say string name, the name of the facility. For example, all the names I mentioned here could be examples. And then let's say every time if a member of the club, they want to register for a particular facility, they have to register for how many units of the facility. For example, you may want to register for a group power class for 1 hour. You may want to register for the use of gym, maybe for 2 hours. You know, that will be the units, and also the unit price for the facility would be some value depending on what facility you're using. And then when you want to calculate the price that a member should pay, you should really say unit price multiplied by the units, right? So that's kind of the calculation we can do. Okay, let's say this. So we can say double and then price. Let me just make a comment over here. It's a unit price. The price for each units, and then integer units. How many units you want to book for the facility, right? You can book for as many facilities as you like, or maybe we can impose a maximum constraint. We can talk about this in detail next week. But for now, I'll just say units, price, and name. So these are the three attributes for facility. All right. Let's now go back to the member class over here. And then let me maximize it. The only addition I would like to add will be, let's say right below the trainer. Okay, let's review what the trainer is about. It's a single valued reference type attributes. First of all, it is reference type simply because the type of that is simply a trainer. It's simply not primitive. So what's primitive? Primitive is simply integer, int, bool, boolean, double, short, whatever that's really mentioned in your elementary programming lecture. And notice that the string type is a reference type. String is not a primitive type, right? That's a common confusion. Okay, for the trainer, that's a reference type. That's why it's reference type over here. And why is that single value? When we visualize the attribute trainer for any member objects, you can think about it's only storing a single address, right? So now let's introduce another kind of attributes over here. Okay, let me just copy this. Okay, so rather than single value, I'm going to say multi-value. Okay, multi-value means it's going to store multiple addresses in this particular variable, right? But to achieve that, we need to use the array that we learned about. Okay, so what I would say is I'm going to say facility. So every slot in the array is going to store an address of some facility objects. Okay, let me just finish the declaration and now I'll explain that to you. Over here, and then stores an array of facility objects addresses. Okay, you can see I just want to make the sentence in the similar structure as the previous one, right? You can see as opposed to a single object, we are storing an array of objects, and every member of the array is going to be the address for some facility objects, right? Rather than trainer objects. So that's something you want to pay attention to. Okay, and then let's look at the syntax over here. So that's how you declare an array. Remember, I said before, so whatever type that happens to the left of the opening square brackets, that refers to the type for every member in the array. In this case, rather than integer, it's simply going to be the address of some facility objects, right? So collectively, you can store as many facility objects addresses as you like, depending on what the size is for the array. We can initialize that later. All right. Let me declare one more attributes in order to manage this particular array attributes. It will be a very standard programming pattern that we're going to use, which will be explained in the written notes and also in the next week's video. Let me just put it here. Okay, we're going to use an integer counter over here. I will call it NOF, standing for number of facilities over here. Number of facilities, and these two attributes. Let me just fix the typo over here. So these two attributes are going to work side by side together, right? That's something I will show you in the written notes, which I'm going to assign to you later, and also the next week's tutorial video, where I'll also do the detailed tracing as well. Okay, so that's about these two attributes I'd like to introduce to the member class. Okay, and then what to conclude this video, I would like to do two more things. Number one, I want to visualize quickly about the difference between a single value reference type attributes versus a multi-value reference type attributes on the iPad. And then I'm going to show you the written notes that you're assigned to read. Let's now first switch to iPad over here. Okay, so now here I try to present a partial view of the member class. So remember, we actually declare this member class, and we declare trainer attributes of type trainer, and also we got facilities of type an array of facility. Okay, and I said this is single valued versus facilities being multi-value. Okay, let's now take a look very quickly to see the principle. So when you look at a trainer over here, it's a single value attributes, meaning that it's actually going to store a single trainer's address. Okay, so that's pretty easy. That's something we mentioned before. And then what about the facility over here? Okay, it's really important to see, and then I'll visualize how it looks like at the runtime. First of all, it's an array. So we know that it's going to store the starting address of some array, right? Let's now write it down. It's going to stores the starting address of some array. Of some array where each index of the array stores the address of some facility objects. All right, so this one is a little bit long, but it's really important. So you can see being an array, so that means it's going to store the starting address of some array. And then you can see the second part, because each member, each elements in the array is going to be of type facility, so that means each index of the array is going to store the address of some facility objects, right? That's how you see the two parts for this attribute. All right, so that's about the principle for these two, and I would like to visualize very quickly about how you can look like at the runtime quickly. Okay, let me make some little bit space over here. I think let me just put it here. All right, and let me make that a little bit smaller. Okay, and then I already got some diagram. Okay, I'm going to show you in Magic. All right, there we go. So these are the runtime objects which I already created. Okay, I just want to show you quickly. Okay, let's say this. Let's say at the runtime we got three kinds of objects. We got two member objects. We got two trainer objects. And for this scenario, we have seen that already in the detailed tracing in the previous video. And also we got four facility objects over here, right? Let's just, without seeing exactly how to achieve this, we're going to see what can be achieved at the runtime, and then we'll see exactly how next week. Okay. So it could be something like this. Maybe Alan is pointing to a member objects, and also Tom is pointing to another member objects, right? And then for the facilities, let's just say let's just talk about objects individually. And also we got John over here, maybe pointing to. Let me use another color here. Let's say John is pointing to this particular trainer objects, whereas maybe Jared is actually pointing to this particular trainer objects, right? And when we talk about facility, it could be spinning class, it can be gym, it can be maybe squash court, whatever, right? Let me just make it easier. Let's say facility number 1, F1, and also facility 2, F2, facility 3, F3, and also facility 4, F4, right? We got four different variables. Let's say there's no aliasing just yet. Okay, and to make it even more fun, let me just make it, before I do any reference assignments, I will simply just color them. Okay, so the blue ones are the objects of type member, and the green one will be the objects of type trainer, and finally the pink one will be the objects of type facility. Okay, let's see how we can draw connections between all the objects, right? Well, without seeing exactly how, of course, we're going to define our mutator methods to actually do it, like in the previous video. But since now we got, let's see exactly how. First of all, let's say this. How do I, we can easily say Alan has the trainer, maybe John, over here. And also Tom has the trainer, Jared, right? We can easily do this, right? That's something we did in the previous video. But now, what about the array type over here, right? So far it's only about review, how you can do trainer, just a single value attributes. What about multi-value attributes? First of all, at the runtime, what's going to happen is we're going to have for in each member object, right? Member object here, member object here. Each one of them is going to point to the start of an array of certain size. Okay, let's say here, let's say just make it easier. Let's say 0, 1, 2. Let's say a member can only book up to 3 classes, up to 3 facilities, right? And also, Tom.facilities can is also going to point to the starting address of an array over here, and then we also got indices 0, 1, and 2. Okay, this actually corresponds to this part. Stores the starting address of some array. Storing the starting address stores the storing the starting address over here, right? So far it's corresponding to it. And each index of the array stores the address of some facility objects. So this index here, this one here, this one here, this one here, this one here, and this one here. Each one of them may simply store the address of some facility objects, right? So let's see how. Let me use another color here, and then we can have, let's say, purple. Okay, so we can say maybe the first facility that Alan registered will be, let's say, simply facility 2, and then the second one will be facility 3. Okay, and then what about, let's say, another one? What about for Tom? Tom, it could be maybe the first facility will be facility 4 over here, and the next one will be maybe facility 1. Okay, it's a little bit ugly over here, but I'll just draw that quickly. So this could be all the way here, right? So that's kind of the runtime structure that can occur. You can see we got 3 levels: level 1, level 2, and also level 3, right? Basically, okay. Exactly how you visualize it really depends on your drawing ability and also how how well you can imagine the visualization. But I would say this is just one example. Okay, that's exactly what we're going to end up having for next week. But for now, I just want to show you very quickly about the visualization. Let me recap, and then I'll give you I'll talk about second thing. Okay. For single value attributes at the runtime, you simply store the address of some single objects like this. And also this. For multi-value attributes, you're going to point to the start of some array. Point to the start of some array. And then each element in the array is going to point to some other objects. For example, facility. And for this one here, also facility, right? Okay, so that's kind of the visualization I'd like to show you. And now, to end the video, before I end the video, I'd like to show you one more thing. Okay, let me switch back to Eclipse. Okay. So these are the 2 attributes that we have done so far, and then I would like to give you one exercise over here, which we will give you the solution. Well, actually, we'll guide you through the solution next week. But let's say this. Okay, let me put it here. Exercise. After reading the written notes, which I'll show to you in a moment. Just don't worry. I will also include a link to the written notes in the YouTube video as well. You can check the description section for this current video. Okay, so what about the exercise? Okay, let's say this. Let's say public, and then let's say double get payment due for the member. Okay, for now I'm simply going to say return -1. Okay, it's simply wrong, but at least it will compile. So what's going to happen is, okay, let me show you for the visualization. If I say, for example, I might call the method by writing over here, Alan dot get payment due, for example, right? And if I call the method over there, what your method should do is it's going to go over the array of Alan's facilities, that facilities array, and then check to see each of the facility over here, for example, these 2. So these 2 are the facilities booked by Alan. In that case, you will actually do the summation of the facilities price. For example, if the price is here, multiplied by the units, plus the price here, multiplied by the units, and so on. In general, there could be as many facilities as can be booked by the member. Let's say there's no constraint. All right. Let's go back to this method over here. Let me just give you some comments over here. Go over the facilities of the member and add up the price multiplied by units of each booked facility, right? It seems to be a very challenging exercise over here. However, I would suggest study the written notes, which I'm going to assign to you right now, and then it will be much smoother for you to actually follow through my solution next week. Okay, let me show you the written notes. Okay, so this is the PDF over here. Okay, it's about 14 pages over here, and that one over there will actually guide you through another simpler example called the point collector and also point collector tester. And over there is a method called get points in Trojan 1. Okay, so that's the method. Once you study that and understand how it works, you will be able to finish this exercise over here. But again, I'm going to go over this exercise solution together with you starting from next week. However, it will be the best, most effective for your learning if you can try it out yourself. Okay. And if you really have no clue how to really finish this method here, which is not surprising since you might still be very new to OOP, then I would highly recommend you actually study this notes over here. Okay, this notes will be required later, also for your maybe written test, programming test, or maybe exam. Okay, so it will be worth your time to actually study this node carefully. It got very detailed explanation and also visualization. Lots of diagrams over there. For example, diagram here, and also lots of diagram over there to show you how things will actually be traced throughout the execution of the method. Okay, so that's the written notes you have to do together with the videos this week. All right, so that's about this week's tutorial. I will stop here, and please make sure you go through all the details I explained in the videos already, and also finish this exercise with the guidance of the written notes which I just showed to you.